Excellent. Hi, everybody. Ken Kirschbaum with Sports Video Group. Heather, thanks for the introduction. EVS, thanks for sponsoring us today. And of course, everybody, thanks for joining us today. It is great to be here in Manchester. It's great to be actually anywhere but the United States right now, so this is a really nice opportunity. So Oscar, you and I, of course, got to know each other in the United States with your role at Concacaf. But let's start with this 25 World Cup, because you and I had we had a nice dinner in December, or maybe it might have been November, or maybe in January, I can't remember. But January, sorry.
January.
When you were visiting over. Obviously, this event at the time I was like, well, this makes sense because there's no Confederations Cup, so this kind of replaces the Confederations Cup. And then maybe you can explain this is much bigger than just a Confederations Cup.
Thank you, Ken. Thank you, everybody. Great to see so many faces that I know and new faces as well. Yes, this is I would use two different adjectives today. This is massive. The Club World Cup 2025 is massive. It's 64 games in very short time in a country, 12 venues in the United States, East, West. It's very, very big, and not only in terms of the production that we're putting together, but also in terms of the passion that the fans are going to show, because we all follow our national team, but daily we follow our clubs. And that's something that we need to reflect and to make sure that we pass to our fans. So we're preparing, working full speed on that one, less than 3 months away from it, and excited to be showing that to the world.
Sure. So walk through, because obviously in 2026, HBS is involved. There's in Dallas, that's where the IBC is going to be. You mentioned this is 64 matches. This is as big as the last World Cup. So how are you approaching IBC operations and sort of at what's going on at each of the venues?
Yeah, for 2025, we're working with HBS as our host broadcast partner. So same for 2026. So the approach for this one is we're going to be very traditional in terms of production. There will be 11 production teams based on each city. We have 12 stadiums in 11 cities because we have 2 stadiums in Orlando. That's why we have 11 production teams. And then we're going to have an IBCC at MetLife Stadium in New Jersey. Why an IBCC? Or for those that are not familiar with the concept of an IBCC, it's a smaller version of an IBC. It's more limited presence of media partners on site for that. So we will be there creating the world feed, distributing the world feed, and making sure that everything gets there. We're also testing a couple of things related to 2026 in terms of internal connectivity and stuff like that. So the other thing to consider is that MetLife has semifinals and final. It's the stadium with the more number of games, if I remember correctly. So it made sense totally to be there with our operational hub.
Excellent. So let's I want to give you a chance to introduce yourself, because a lot of people probably are not familiar with you at this point. Some people do, obviously.
Maybe. A lot.
So tell us a little bit about your story. You were born in Costa Rica. You joined Concacaf about 10 years ago, obviously FIFA about 6 months ago. So walk us through, you're growing up and kind of how you got into this industry.
So born in Costa Rica, small rural town, beautiful place. I played football all my life. I was a goalkeeper, but at 20 or 18, my mom told me, hey, are you good enough to keep playing and make your money out of it, or you want to study? I'm here, I didn't play, so there you have the measurement of how good I am. But then went to uni, was working at the university TV station. I was about to leave to grab a beer and a pizza with some friends. On a Friday afternoon, the phone rang. I came back. The room was empty. I answered it, and it was the beginning of my story. So when started working as a assistant producer as a local network, then became a talent doing entertainment around the world. Interviews from people from Oasis, Bon Jovi, Sting, you name it, many of them. Then when my belly grew, my hair was gone, they said, you have good ideas, you can be a good producer. That was a nice way to say, hey, it's your time to go behind cameras. So I did that. Started producing, loved it, because in the end, production is the way that we all see our ideas come to life. Started producing football, because in the end, football is in my part of my life. Went to Concacaf. For those not familiar with Concacaf, is the confederation that governs football in North America, Central America, and the Caribbean. Was there for 10 years. Great experience. And now, last year, I applied for the position that Florian me to had for many years. And here I am, moved to Switzerland. Love it. I mean, it's a great place. And excited to be here. It's my second football summit. We were in Munich some years ago. My German was not good at that time, and it's not good at this time either, so, but still.
Excellent. So yes, you mentioned Concacaf, right? So Oscar from EVS, in his presentation, discussing the sort of the marketplace, right? And how there's, you got the haves, the really big properties, but then there is a delta for the second tier properties, let's call them. And obviously, seeing you over the years, Concacaf budgets were second tier, even sometimes probably third tier.
Yeah.
And you learned a lot. So what did you learn at Concacaf that you think can be applied to FIFA? And do you feel suddenly that you're at FIFA that you're like, oh my God, you're a kid in a candy store kind of mentality where you kind of you have some different budgets, if you will. But walk back to Concacaf and what you learned there, dealing with tight budgets and how to kind of make the most of your productions.
I think I have an advantage because having worked at CONCACAF before, you understand how a sports league or sports federation works. So that's very important, and anybody that wants to come to a role in an organization like this, having that background in terms of how things move inside, it's very important. Then the other part is you become scrappy. Scrappy is a word that for some the connotation is not that good, but I think to me it's very good because you learn how to do things with less resources. I remember that, for instance, I'm not ashamed of saying I have lost 2 games in my life that we went to black completely. One was because the uplink truck or the uplink got stuck in customs, never made it to Guatemala, so we were not able to make it on air. And I said at that time, this is the last time that happens to me, so we started doing IP very early, 2017, along with the friends from Media Pro in Miami. We flew with one of those big encoders, and to me, the moment that they said in Miami, we're seeing the signal, that was like magic to me. It was like, wow, we discovered the hot water. And somebody told me, you're crazy. In the Caribbean, in all those beautiful islands that people go for vacations, but never for work, you're never going to be able to find connectivity. So last year, before coming, we were doing over 200 and something games with IP, all flavors from TVU to live view, from high vision to whatever was available. And we had less issues than the issues that we had with satellite, because satellite to fly to, let's say, from Curacao to Aruba, the planes are you just fit, and they even wait you before going on the plane, and if you ate breakfast, you might not make it on the plane. Imagine that you needed to bring the uplink truck, the uplink cases. So that changed everything because at that moment, it was just a live view pack or a TVU pack. It was easier. So I learned a lot, and that's what we're trying to do at the FIFA level, which is, I think FIFA, it's an organization that demands high quality, that demands that the deliveries that we are used to do stay at the same level at least, but keeps improving and bringing innovation.
Well, can you also discuss, as far as the Concacaf productions, what I realized was you really are a big believer in finding talent, identifying talent, and letting the production teams kind of work together, not always changing your team from match to match. So discuss sort of like for those top level Concacaf matches, your production team there and what you're kind of looking for out of people on your teams.
So one of the first things we did was centralized production in terms of creation of world feeds. So we were producing clean feeds on site, sending signals, adding graphics in a centralized facility. Then when I got there, I said, hey, to be able to increase the level here, we need to do 2 things. One is bringing people that it's at the highest level, and usually those are the Europeans who are doing all the big tournaments, all the big leagues and the games every other week. So we started working. I remember the first production team that we brought was John Watts, who to me, he's a legend. He's doing Nations League finals right now and was great. Started working with the people from HBS, and we started working all the big names in terms of production teams. Grant Phillips, Oscar Lago, who's here. Sarah, we tried to bring her. She's here, but we tried to bring her to Concacaf, but she was too busy in the... so hopefully one day she can go there. But the good thing is that these people came to the region not only to say, hey, this is how we do, but also with the mentality of sharing how they do things. And for us, that was key, because legacy in football is not only what happens on the pitch, it's also what happens off the pitch. And the fact that we were able to create Broadcast Academy along with HBS, we were able to put the first women in directing a senior national competition in the whole Concacaf region. For us, those are the highlights of my career, and not because I did anything, just because sometimes you have the option to say yes or no, and I think you have to just be brave and give people the opportunity. And that was thanks to the work that many of the people in Europe, many of the partners, we work a lot with EVS, we work a lot with many partners to say, hey, how can we do things, and how can we make everybody better and not just pay you the money that we're going to pay you?
Sure. Yeah, let's talk about the Broadcast Academy just for a couple minutes before we get into the 26 World Cup. But obviously EVS is here. They're a big part of the Broadcast Academy, kind of helping develop next generation EVS operators. Laura from your team is Laura McDonald, right? So discuss that program and how people here could, should take advantage of something like that to kind of just improve the diversity within their production teams and give people new opportunities that historically may have been, she was located in the Caribbean, not a lot of opportunities to develop. So talk about that program a little bit.
I think those events or those programs to me are the key, because we all have been here in this industry for many years, and we're seeing the declining on people wanting to join to do what we do. Why? Because it's tiring, because we work a lot, because it's long hours. I was talking with Nick Bailey, CEO from A-Live yesterday. Hey Nick, it's hard to find people for this. I think programs like a Broadcast Academy that HBS has, or any other name that you put it, help people that usually don't have the opportunity but have the talent and the passion come to join the industry. Last week, the African Confederation hosted something that was to me great. It's like the first session for directors and producers in Africa for football production. People from all the countries leading into what it's the African qualifiers this week. Those are the initiatives that are going to make a difference, because many people can do replays, but not many people have access to an EVS machine. Can we give them access? And maybe they're going to be at least as good as the ones that are having access every other week, or many people are going to be as good or even better than those that have access to that. And let's just give access. Let's give opportunities, make it attractive. And then you'll see the results. The results are going to come by themselves, as long as it is not just inviting people to come to a session, play with a nice simulator. It has to be a follow-up and say, hey, you learned here, you're going to have a game. And then that takes me to something that to me is very important in this business, which is from the philosophy point of view, I believe a lot in the analogy of the revolving doors. I think in life you make decisions based on if those decisions you can undo the decisions, just like with the revolving doors. I mean, you go to an airport, there are doors that you cross, you cannot come back. There are other buildings where you have a revolving door, you cross the door, you see what is in the other end, you don't like it, you go back. If you can test things like that, if you can give people opportunities in those environments, with the analogy of the revolving door, they can grow and you can discover many talent.
Yeah, but what I love though, over the years, over those 3 or 4 years after the academy, you gave them opportunities to work on multiple events. It wasn't like just learn EVS or have a chance to produce or direct, but also get the repetitions in, work with Grant, learn, over multiple events, as opposed to just like a one-off, you feel good about yourself and then you move on.
I think if you need to click the diversity, if you need to click just the policy to go along with what your company wants to use as public relationships, it's easy. You just do a one-off and you forget about it and you just. But if you want to really make an impact, that it's going to help you, because in the end, it's people that is going to be super engaged with your productions, wants to go to work in your productions, is going to be engaged with your sport. You have to bet on them, because if you don't do it, it's just a nice checkbox in your diversity policy of your company.
Right. Okay, so let's talk about 2026. World Cup comes to the United States, hopefully. We'll see where, again, it's going to come. Yeah, it's going to happen. So walk us through where you're at as far as planning. Dallas was announced 2 weeks ago. What should we expect over the next year as far as just sort of you ramping up and kind of nailing things down? And I know that 22, we had the move to IP in a big level. The Women's World Cup was a big move towards remote production and REMI production. Are you doing anything, in a big grand plan to kind of take another step, or where are you at?
So the World Cup 2026 is coming to North America, Canada, Mexico, and the US. I use massive for the Club World Cup. I use humongous for 2026 because it's 16 venues, 104 games. We won't have a game without a day without a game until 27 days after the beginning of the tournament. So we have to wait 27 days to get our first rest day. We're going to have at our IBC at Dallas. It's a fantastic place, and we're excited to be there. We're going to be having 16 production teams based in each city. We're not going to be moving them around, but replay operations and camera shading are being done from the IBC. So we're working a very complex setup with HBS leading this, with the different partners that we're working. And it's going to be an interesting one, because it demands a lot from the people, it demands a lot from the suppliers that we're working with and engaging with. And I think we have our first World Broadcasters meeting last week in Dallas. It was really good to be able to present the plans that we're having right now, to hear what is it that the partners think about it. Because in the end, I think one of the things that I have found here is that this is a service position. I'm here. I would love to say that I'm creative, that I can sit and direct or tell any of the directors what they need to do. No, I don't do that. This is a service position. My position is just to make sure, just like the rest of the philosophy of the organization, that we're serving correctly those who are buying our rights. So we are making sure that they have all the conditions. It's a challenging one. You know the USA, you know Mexico, you know Canada. They are very different, very diverse, and you need to plan from now to be able to be ready for delivery what you need to deliver.
So in general, in terms of talking to the rights holders last week and where their heads are at, because I know we've had IBCs kind of shrinking as a lot of broadcasters kind of move their operations back home and work from afar. There's the move towards more XR studios and that kind of stuff. Is there anything popping out from their requests? As far as?
We're finding a hybrid, which is what probably most of the partners here are finding, is like not everybody's, people want to be on site as well, but they are not betting. I don't think anybody's going to the IBC with a studio anymore, because what you can have there, you can have it anywhere in the world in a better place. But they are going there for connectivity purposes. We are delivering all our feeds for the first time, making them available outside of the IBC, which is with a router that people could select wherever they are for SRT feeds and everything. So I think we're trying to find that balance and serve the different needs that they have. Because in the end, our interest is that they can put on air as much material as we are producing, and not only what we are offering at the IBC level. So I think that's where the focus is. And again, it's hybrid, still not one side or the other completely.
Right. So then just a follow-up question, because I know that, for example, in Brazil, FIFA set up a big remote studio location on Copacabana Beach. In South Africa, they've done it at different locations, because those cities and countries had a sort of like a central spot to be. Now the challenge that we face with this World Cup, and Fox trying to figure it out, there is no natural center place to put your studio team, if you will. So do you think like at MetLife you will have towards the end, like a remote set location, or is it going to be very different this year?
I would put it on the other way. There are so many places that you could put your studio in Zócalo in Mexico, or you can put it in Vancouver, where 2015 was amazing for Fox, or you can pick many options in the US. The good thing on this one is this is a different model for FIFA. We don't have a local organizing committee as in the previous. We are running everything. So we are working with the host cities, and the host cities are working towards the coordination with the media partners to offer that. To answer your question, there are conversations with the host city of New York, New Jersey, to have an activation that it's not Manhattan, that it's not necessarily MetLife, but has something that is attractive for the media partners. You know the challenges. Everybody wants to be in Times Square, but you know the challenges of Times Square, not only from the permits point of view, but from the commercial point of view. You have all the video boards and everything, so that's going to be, if somebody wants to be there, very hard to control for them.
And you promised that next year at this event you'll be able to come back and share all the details, right?
You told me, Ken sent me an email, hey, can we speak about what are the suppliers that are on board? And I said, like, yeah, Ken, the only two that I can confirm right now, it's HBS, because it's our host broadcast partner, and A Live, who's the company that we work for the implementation of the graphics. But next year we can come here, and we can go also to NAB for the colleagues in the US, and come with some of those partners and speak of what we're going to do.
Sounds great. Well, Oscar, thank you so much for your time. Much appreciated, as always.
Thank you.